Another company was trying to take my work. And funny enough, they used the Partstown listing to try to get me in trouble.
We put together information and findability with our Parts ID tools that start that process. So come to us for Parts ID, come to us for availability, come to us for that predictable outcome. Like if we can ship it to you today up till 9 p.m. Eastern, then let's take advantage of that moment so that you can go back and take care of your customer and keep that equipment up and running.
Is there something that you can scan, like data tags? I think that's what I had heard.
It's called SnapScan. And today we're using that in a way that is scanning the label of any piece of equipment in the field, and it's going to bring you back that same experience like we looked at online, where you get the full bill of material, you get the manuals, diagrams, exploded drawings.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable Trades podcast. I'm your host, Adrian, and I'm an HVAC business owner here in South Texas. Plenty of good conversations to be had with good people and a lot of good stories that maybe you would relate to. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, any other location, please leave us a review. We hope to earn those 5 stars, and I really have fun doing this podcast. I appreciate everybody that watches or listens and makes this what it is. I also want to thank our sponsors that help keep this thing going. Jobber is our favorite CRM. I've tried different ones until finding Jobber that kind of controls the chaos that it is running a business and still being in the field and trying to get all the billing, quoting, submitting everything that you need to do outside of the field. And with Jobber, we do our maintenance contracts, we do our invoicing, our quoting, following up with customers to get reviews. That has helped our business a lot. So check out Jobber for yourself, see if it helps your business. You get a 2-week free trial and a special discount if you use the link down below. Vito Pro Pack is also a supporter, and I can tell you right now, even though I see a bunch of competitors coming into the field, they are still hands down the best tool bags that you can buy. You won't want to use any other tool bag. And the thing is, they have so many products now that you can find the one that is perfect for you. So make sure to check out Vito Pro Pack at your supply house or go to vitopropack.com. True Tech Tools has a lot of their stuff as well. Go check out their website to make sure that you can find the perfect bag for yourself. You won't regret it. Diversitech is probably in a lot of y'all's vans. I have almost something from all of those brands in my van ever since we've started. Packard is a big one for us as far as parts. They usually have something that we would need on a day-to-day basis. They are your one-stop shop for everything HVAC, and they have you covered for your everyday HVAC needs. And today's video is also brought to you by Resideo. Elite Pro is built for pros and powered by Pro IQ services. The new Honeywell Home Elite Pro thermostat is more than just a thermostat. It's a growth engine for your business. The sleek range of smart thermostats help you deliver next level comfort and convenience while standing out in every home. For more information, please visit resideo.com/proiq. Scott, what is up, man? How are you?
I am doing well, Adrian. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
I appreciate you taking the time. It's been a long time coming. I know we had some hiccups here and there, but I'm glad to sit down because Partstown is a big deal especially in the kitchen refrigeration world. So I'm happy to have you here to kind of dive into that topic and talk about, what Partstown is.
Indeed. Let's dig into it.
Before we start, because I always forget, I get deep into conversation. Can you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and maybe just a quick summary of Partstown?
Yeah, for sure. So Scott Pearson, Vice President of HVAC and Market Strategy for Partstown. Let's see, soundbite about me. I've been in the industry of HVAC for about 20 years, played a couple of different roles, spent some time on the manufacturing side, the distribution side. Took a handful of years in the VC technology side, been in the applied commercial distribution side. So kind of been in a lot of different facets of the industry, only to show up at Partstown in a cool moment in time where the industry is starting to shift to e-commerce and predictable deliveries and trying to build a better mousetrap for technicians in the field to find efficiency and predictability and take care of homeowners and end users and keep equipment up and running. So glad to be here.
So Parts Town, that used to be our secret sauce. I mean, I feel like it's a lot more well known now. Everybody uses it. I will say even my customers use it. So it's pretty, like I said, well known, and everybody goes to Parts Town. That's like the website to go to. In my field, I mostly deal with kitchens and restaurants and hospital work, things like that. And we would lean on Parts Town for like I said, the secret sauce for me was going to Parts Town because they had all the manuals. They had a parts breakdown, part numbers. I could reference anything I needed to on any equipment that I would see out there. The first thing I would go to is to Parts Town to see if you guys had, like I said, the parts breakdown and the part numbers. And I wanted to get into this a little bit later, but like it's like you said, it's shifting to e-commerce. I think the technician has so many resources now out in the field, right? Whether it's you guys or, there's other companies that are trying to do the e-commerce thing. Like everybody's trying to catch up to it. It's been out there for a little bit. And I used to lean on the supply house, like the counter guys, like I need this part or I need that part. And I don't know the part number and this and that. And, trying to lean on them. And don't get me wrong, there's a couple of smart individuals that I always seek when I go to my supply house, but there's only like 2 or 3 of them. The other counter guys, unfortunately, they revolve, right? It's a revolving door of counter guys, and sometimes it's kids, sometimes it's somebody that hasn't been in the field. You never know who you get. And nowadays, it's better if you go with the part number or a breakdown or something so that you make sure that you get the right part, whether you get it in person locally because you need it that day, or if they can wait, you can order it through Parts Town. I think you guys are pretty fast on your shipping too.
You're selling all the things that I want to sell. So let's dig into
Well, like I
some of
said,
those.
I wanted to slowly get into it, but I just kind of had a thought come up and I'm like, well, let's just get into it.
Yeah. So you hit an interesting point. Every good technician in the field has their favorite counter guy, right? The guy that he knows will have the right answer, the most accurate answer. And hopefully there's a ton of inventory behind the wall, behind the counter that can support that. Well, I mean, that is the challenge, right? We can get into that in a second, but as technology shifts on the equipment, so does the planning of inventory and the difficultness of having all the parts in one spot. So, simply put, Parts Town, and you reference this, we curate a lot of data. We want to make sure that you can find the part easily in a way that doesn't necessarily mean calling up and asking. So we're giving you back the information that you needed in the field. We do it across most major brands, and HVAC specifically.
I'll be honest, when I call, like for me, because I've been doing this almost 20 years, and I don't say that to brag, and I don't want to be that old head. I've been doing it this long and this and that. It's just like I've seen a lot of stuff over those 20 years, phasing out R22. Now we're phasing out another group of refrigerants. And, I went to trade school. I had a lot of good experience. I had some good learning experiences out in the field, whether good or bad, by mistake, trial and error, stuff like that. So typically I can diagnose things myself. The hardest part is like getting a part number or finding parts. That's always like the hardest part for me because I can't do anything. I can fix something all day, like quickly diagnose and fix. But if I don't have that part, like there's something I can do, right? So when I would call tech support, I never used tech support really to help me diagnose. I would use tech support to ask for like, what parts can I get for this, or part numbers, or something along the lines of like, how can I get this fixed and where can I find this part? Lately, it's been okay, but like it kind of sucks to get through an hour wait, whatever it is, or a callback, like I've had this where I get a callback like the next day and I'm like, dude, I'm not in front of the unit anymore. Like I needed you that day, that time. And it's typically just to get some parts or part numbers. So that was always a struggle for me. But once I learned about Parts Town, because I learned about it through my dad does cooking equipment. So you guys handle, the hot and the cold, and now the HVAC, and you're expanding. So like I said, that was always our secret sauce. I would just go online and go to Parts Town.
Yeah, you can go to our website, go to our mobile app. We've got lots of tools to help you find the parts you need. And to your point, you can't do much. If you're taking care of a customer on your end, you can't even start that transaction to get them to sign off on it without telling them what you're going to do, right? So you need the part number, the price, the availability, and I think you're hitting on it. Historically, that's been a fishing exercise that takes a lot of time. What we want to do is give you back that time, put it back on the clock so that you can go on and take care of your customer. I think the elements that I would point out that you kind of described, any technician in the field has typically been given the, I guess, ownership of diagnosing what's wrong with the equipment. But historically, we haven't given him the access to the information to move on, right? I think you're a Jobber fan, right? So if you got to throw your information into Jobber to get a customer to sign off on it and manage your business, downstream from an accounting standpoint, you need all those pieces of information quickly. And, your focus should be on the getting the equipment back up and running. And from a mechanical standpoint, not necessarily, hunting down part numbers. So putting that back in your wheelhouse to where you can own that experience, that's a big part of what we want to do for sure.
That's awesome. So like I mentioned, I knew about it because of my dad. So cooking equipment, I thought it was only for that. And then I was like, oh, you guys have refrigeration equipment, because that's what I do. Like we do different trades in the same business. And it was always cool to find stuff. And like I noticed over time, there was like almost everything in there. You guys always had it. So if we needed to, or if we could wait a couple days, we would get it shipped out and all that. But like I would always tell people that needed help in the field or like little tips and tricks. I'm like, first of all, make sure you bookmark Partstown, because that can help you with manuals and diagrams and parts breakdowns and all that. Now I'm seeing it more from other, like I said, manufacturers are starting to do it. They have all this AI that they're putting into it. I think you guys, so when did you guys start expanding to HVAC? Because that was always my thing with it. I was like, well, I can use it for most of my stuff, but I still do a lot of AC work, and that's not in there. I did jump around to try others. We don't have to name them, but there's been other brands that have tried to take over that HVAC market as far as like online parts and ordering and working with supply houses to get you those parts. Never really enjoyed using them, or they put them behind like a paywall. Like you got to pay a subscription to even do this stuff. I'm like, well, how do I know? Because my only thing with that is like, do you even have the equipment that I work on? Which that brand that was charging did not have a lot of the equipment that I worked on personally. So I'm like, well, if you're only putting out the new stuff, it's no good for me because I work on a lot of older stuff. So when did you guys expand to HVAC? Because I had barely learned about that.
Yeah, I'll give you the rundown. So Partstown, well known for food service, hot side, cold side. About 3 years ago, also acquired an organization that is pretty much anything with a power source in the home. So appliances, things like that. HVAC was a venture that really came out of COVID. We're taking care of end users and tradesmen in that space. Ultimately, they said, hey, look, you got us on the fryer, you got us on the cooler, but if the rooftop unit on the building goes down, we're still out of business. Mission critical.
That sounds exactly how our business came about. My dad does hot food, and they're like, well, we have a cooler, we have an HVAC system. Who's going to take care of that? And then here I come, go to trade school for that.
Yeah, for sure. So it was really a request from the field saying, hey, if you can take care of us in a bigger way, you guys do parts well, you do predictable outcomes well. Because I joke, we don't sell parts, right? We sell an experience. We sell a way for you to rely on us to de-risk your business, whether that's you as the contractor or the end users, making sure that their business is up and running and there's no downtime involved. So about 3 years ago, got real serious about HVAC. Today, there's a small army of people focused on it at Partstown. We've got a little over 110 brands and counting. We had new OEM relationships every week, and then a full team that's out connecting the dots with contractors and distributors and taking care of those groups that called us to the table on HVAC several years ago. So been in motion for a few minutes, but still a long way to go. We see an opportunity in HVAC to do really three things. One, have all the brands in one place. A technician doesn't want to go from site to site to site or from supply house to supply house to get all the brands that he needs to work on in one day. So aggregate that in a way that's special and that's pointed specifically at OEM only parts. Our thesis is that, most, especially in HVAC, the best cross-reference engine is only about 90% right. That last 10%, that's a big delta when you're in the field with the wrong part in hand, trying to take care of a customer.
I just had a Friday afternoon like that.
You want to avoid that, right?
Because that was going to be one of my questions. If you guys only did OEM, I kind of knew the answer a little bit, but you guys try to stick to OEM only. Now, there's a lot of aftermarket stuff out there, which I'm not completely opposed to. I used to only deal with aftermarket because I mean, it was cost effective and it used to work like 90% of the time. Nowadays, it's a little bit harder. And then there's some equipment that you just can't put whatever in it. Like it has a certain mounting system for like a motor or, only so much play in that area that you're replacing. So like I had that recently a couple weeks ago on a Friday afternoon. I was trying to get out of there and, I had this AC unit that I actually never had seen before. And I'm trying to get the motor out so I could see it, get a part number, and then go, to the supply house. I wasn't too far from it. And they're like, well, we don't have the OEM one. Cause like I said, now I do try to get OEM more than I used to because I've had issues. And they're like, we don't have the OEM one, but we have a $100 motor that it'll work just fine. It's the same thing. Don't worry about it. Send it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take it, but if it doesn't fit, I'm going to return it. Right. And I was calling around and somebody else did have the motor not too far, but I was like, well, if I go do this real quick, I'll be out, in a few minutes. So I went to go do all the work, take off. It was a blower wheel, assembly, everything, took out the blower motor, put it in there, and it was just like an inch too big or half an inch maybe. And I was like, I can't even fit the thing in there. So a whole bunch of time wasted, which is time is money, right? And having to now tell the customer, oh, it's the wrong motor. It needs the original one, this and that. So I hate dealing with that. And nowadays I do try to get OEM a lot more. And you're seeing it now with even the newer equipment, like you have to go OEM. And it just helps you and your customer because longevity, it's running the way it's supposed to. Sometimes the aftermarket doesn't give you the right RPMs or it's not what it's meant for, and it'll give you other issues down the line. So that was my experience with my supply house because they're trying to tell you, oh, this works, that works. And that's what I meant earlier. Like sometimes they don't know. I mean, they don't know better sometimes, right? Like they're told that it's the same, but unless you go out in the field and install it, you don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for a counter guy to really understand that shaft's going to be half an inch too long, right? Unless he has this real specs to line it up 100% with the existing part, which that's difficult because in
So
HVAC, we haven't done
my whole
of
thing
key.
is I tell my guys and I try to tell myself is if you can, which it's usually not possible, but if you can take the part with you, take it to the supply house. When they give you whatever they give you, take it out of the box and match it up, right? Because if it's a hair off or whatever, because that's not the only instance that's happened to me on a lot of refrigeration equipment too. You have like so much play in these smaller coolers, right? And I'll take it out and I'll look at it and I'm like, nope, that's not gonna work. I was like, it's just a hair too big. I don't have play in there. Get me the OEM one. Funny enough, they've admitted to me that they themselves use Parts Town as well to get some of those parts.
Yeah, I mean, we want to enable distributors to take care of you as well. The simple reality is this. OEM's easier to match up 100% like for like. And when we're talking about all the play right now in the industry, lack of knowledge for the younger guys coming in, the shift, like you mentioned, for new technology with manufacturers going to more proprietary components, that starts to really choke up the supply chain pretty quickly. What once was, we're going to give you an aftermarket component just because we don't have access to other brands. Maybe I'm a carrier distributor and I don't have access to Train brands, but I don't want you to go to Train today. So I'm going to try to give you an market solution. Now it's more, hey, I might not have access to the brands as a distributor that I actually have a direct relationship to because I can't stock like that. Like I can't stock, millions of dollars of parts in this one little location to cover the vast, like different machines that are out there today. The older stuff and the newer stuff, very different, right? I think in 20 years, we've gone through not just 2 refrigerant phase outs, 3, right? R12 was there like 21 years ago. Then we went to R22, then we went to
that was
410.
right before my time.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, some of that, equipment is still out there. Definitely some R22 machines still out there if you can find the refrigerant. But the simple nature of trying to cover the last 25 years worth of equipment at a local distributor, it's tough. So I empathize with them. Plus I've trained countless counter guys in my career. And if you don't have access to the information, it's hard to give them the tools they need to be successful to take care of you at the counter. So,
and that's a good point because that happens with my supply house, right? They deal with Goodman, Daikin, and a couple of brands, but I see a lot of Carrier and Train, right? So, I can't go to them for those brands, but like every now and then, if I'm there and, they always offer to help, they'll use a resource like Partstown to try to help us out, at least.
Reality is though, like you really need a predictable outcome. You've got to define expectations to the people you're doing business with. And quite often they don't want to hear, well, I'll call you back when I know when I can get the part. They want to know, hey, when do I take off work again? Or when can I have this building up and running again?
Yeah.
They've got people that they rely on as well. You need to be able to give them answers quickly.
All right, so I wanted to pull up a few things here. This is the Partstown website. So once I learned about the HVAC being added to it, I kind of looked up a few of the older equipment that I worked on to see if it brought it up, because like I said, with other brands, I had that issue. This is a Carrier that we work on, and you guys have everything in here. I noticed from the board, contactors, obviously motors and all that, down to the grommets. I need these I'm going to add these to my cart right now because I need these damn screw grommets because they get lost everywhere on these Carriers. And then people are trying to drill in holes to put the panel back on. But you guys have everything listed here, the guards, all this stuff that you would need.
Yeah. The idea here is that it's findability, right? What a lot of people don't know today, and this is probably good for all your listeners, you can go to our site and drop a model number of any machine in the field into our search engine, and it's going to pull back the full bill of material for that specific machine. That's what I mean when we got like one of the greatest parts ID tools in the industry. Even if you don't buy from us, come and use it as a parts ID function so that you know what to call around to your distributors and ask for. The idea that you can find the OEM part number in 3 seconds, that's huge in HVAC.
Yeah, and you guys have the coils and everything listed here too. The headers, everything. Yeah. We have an issue with a header right now. I might have to order one. Admittedly, that's what I used to use Partstown for, was just to get a part number, just to get a breakdown, make sure that I was looking at the right part number and this and that. Because I've also had that issue is you have maybe several of the same kind of valves, but they're slightly different. Are you getting the right valve, right? Because I had another manufacturer, or not a distributor locally, and I was arguing with him. I actually pulled up Partstown to show him, because I was telling him it was one of the solenoid valves on an ice machine, and I think he kept trying to give me the bypass valve or something, and I'm like, I need the harvest valve, right? There was like 2 or 3 solenoids in series on this ice machine, and then he gave me the wrong valve. I'm like, dude, I'm not using this valve. It's twice the size of the one that I need. I need the tiny one. So I pulled up Partstown because he kept arguing that was the only part that he saw, or I don't know what. It's that part. And I was like, look, I pulled up the breakdown, zoomed in. I was like, it's this one. We looked at the part number. He ordered the correct one. And that's why I said, like, nowadays I have to do my own research before I go to a supply house, because they might not know better. I don't want to blame anybody, but they might not know better. And they give you the wrong part, and then you waste, I don't know how many days it took to come in. Because that's another thing. Nobody has stock right now. So that was the whole shift, like you had mentioned, to e-commerce, because a lot of the stuff you can't even get locally anymore. So you're looking online anyway, or they're ordering the part, and it's like, well, I'll just order my own part because I got to wait anyway.
Yeah, you mentioned something that is worth double clicking into. The counter guy is at the mercy of the information in front of him, right? So HVAC historically has been really poor as an industry at maintaining clean information, right? He may be looking at a parts list for that machine that you were talking about, and there's only one line that says valve. Something else is described differently for the other part.
Or they're in different sections, because I've come across that too. Like, you look at the manual for the unit itself, and it's like it'll list you some valves at the very top, and then towards the bottom that's going to give you like maybe another random one, right? Because it's like a secondary or something. So you're like, oh, I think these are all the valves that I need, but there's actually one at the very bottom of the list or something like that. Like, there's weird things that can happen.
I mean, that's really the role of a counter guy, right? He's your deep research guy for information and putting it together for a transaction. So if he can't get through and find what he needs, yeah, you're at the mercy of somebody that is potentially going to give you the wrong part. That's why we want to give you the information. Open access, things that used to be behind the passwords at the supply house, or you had to call them to get the information. And now you've got it at your fingertips, and literally could pull it up in front of a customer and say, hey, look, I see that this is in stock. These guys predictably get it to me in 2 days because they ship up to 9 p.m. Eastern, it's Monday. Let's get you back on the board for Wednesday. And now all of a sudden you've scheduled a revisit without having to go back to the shop, without having to do the back and forth, phone tag game. You save time from a research standpoint, but now you also save time on the reschedule. That's quickly becoming hours back into every day, 5 days a week.
Yeah, and you guys have like a good amount because I'm gonna pull it up again. Like
Our aim is to have the most in stock parts on the planet, and specifically planet Earth. We can't compare against planets.
And I work at restaurants, right? Big chain restaurants, and they're known to have their own model numbers and all that because it's specific to that franchise, right? So I work at a lot of Domino's. You guys have these model numbers in here too, where it's like specific to them, right? This one came up recently for me because another company was trying to take my work. And funny enough, they used a Partstown listing to try to get me in trouble. They pulled up Partstown, they circled like the compressor and all that. And it's like, well, the reliable company installed the wrong compressor, this and that. I'm like, pay attention to the listing. It was obsolete. I was like, we got your replacement compressor, right? So sometimes you can get OEM. Does this show anything that's like, if it's obsolete, does it show you like what replaces it to?
Yeah, one of the things that we do with manufacturers, because that's a big part of our value prop, is to partner with the manufacturers.
Yeah, see,
so anytime that they
showed this one, I'm like, dude, good luck getting it. It's obsolete.
So you often have these listings that do have obsolescence, and we tend to work with the manufacturers directly to define what that next legacy replacement is going to be. And you'll see cascading information built into the site that says, hey, we don't have this one anymore. It's obsolete, but now it's replaced by, XYZs. Anytime a manufacturer gives us the opportunity to list that, we do. On occasion where, at the end of the day, there's not a replacement. Maybe they've, discontinued the equipment, discontinued the supply chain that supported it. So there's just not an available option, but that's rare, few and far between. Yeah. Today, you'll see a lot of the replacement information sitting there. And that's a big use of the website as well for a tool.
No, and I had to, that one I did call manufacturer directly because I was a little upset that they're trying to, say something, but they had a reference. I had to get it through Copeland. It was like a completely different compressor. And I was like, okay. But yeah, I usually go there and search everything that I need now. And like I said, a lot of times the supply house here doesn't even have this stuff in stock. So I end up just ordering it myself, go through, like I said, something like Partstown. You usually can get it in a couple days. Right now, we do have a customer. Like I said, some bigger chains order their own parts. They go through Partstown, right? So we have one right now. It's a supermarket. It's a small one. And they've been ordering parts for like an oven, and they get them next day. Like the next morning, they're like, hey, the part's on site. Can you guys come out? It's like, damn, that was fast.
Yeah. So here's the secret sauce.
I'm in Texas. You guys have like a San Antonio thing, no?
We have one in Dallas.
Dallas? Okay.
So we've got lots of what we call parts in town facilities. So those are partners with local distributors or servicers that may have stock sitting on a shelf and they list it on our site. That's one way you get things fast. Another probably answer to the question behind the question is we are strategically positioned in shipping lanes for UPS and FedEx so that you can get ground delivered pretty fast or next day air predictably without it being disrupted. We have global fulfillment centers in Addison, Illinois, Phoenix, Arizona, Atlanta. So that triangle is very well stocked. A through Z movers, some of your longest tail parts in the country will be sitting in those three facilities. Then we also have regional facilities sitting in Dallas, Fort Lauderdale, Albany, New York. If you really look at that map and start to study the ship times from a ground standpoint with FedEx and UPS, you can see pretty quickly that we're 1 to 2 day ground all the time. Like, can't be beat. Combine that with our shipping up to 9 p.m. Eastern out of some of those global fulfillment centers. Big story to say, hey, look, it's, that's 8 o'clock Central, right? So if you're talking to a customer at a Domino's at 8 o'clock and you see that, we've got stock, it's going to ship that day. You're going to likely have it in hand the next day if it's next day air, or if it's, ground, you're going to have it in 2 days. So that's a pretty big prop for you to.
Yeah, that's really crazy because my supply house always, hey, you need to order it by 2 p.m. Or if you want it next day, you need to order by, 2 if you want it in 2 days, whatever it is. And I'm there like, I'm waiting on my customer to answer me because I can't just order it because I said so. I mean, my customer wants to approve it and know about the pricing and all that. So yeah, there's a lot of, it's just, the way it is now. Like you go to I miss the days, and this was mostly pre-COVID, at least for us, where everything was like, fix it on the spot, just fix it, just order it, just whatever, right? There wasn't too many people with budgets because I work on like I said, Domino's, KFC, like all these bigger places, hospitals were like, fix it, we need it now. I miss those days, but now it's like everybody wants a price, a quote, like a formal quote, submit it, it gets approved, then it kicks back to you, and it's like, okay, now I can order it. And by that time, it's not 2 p.m. anymore. Like you said, it's like 4 or 5 p.m. And then you got to tell the customer, well, now it's going to take an extra day or so or whatever it is. And that was insane to me, was the 8 p.m. Well, for me, 8 p.m. cutoff, because that takes care of your whole day, because I'm typically out by 5 or 6 anyway. And then I can just order my parts and, know that it's on the way.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that you've got that at your fingertips, and I relate to the local supply house. I mean, I've run a couple, and I can relate to that. It's hard to say we're going to sit there and do business up until 8 p.m. That's just not possible, right? You got people involved. But at the same time, it's how do you make sure that you have that information at your fingertips all the time, right? It's not just the function of being able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody at the supply house. It's pushing the button, ordering the product, and knowing that you've got a confirmed shipment and can track it all the way to your doorstep so that you can manage expectations that whole way. When you look at our website or our mobile app, after you push that button, you've got a pretty high level of customer experience digitally that you can track it and manage expectations all the way up to fix. So if something does get disrupted, or if you see a delay, rather than having to play phone tag with the counter at a supply house, you've got the notifications coming to your inbox instantly, right? And you can see that it's scheduled to be delivered, with UPS, that next morning. So things like that matter, especially when you're trying to plan your day as a contractor in the field. You've got more than one stop, most likely, more than one repair to do that day. How do you organize that thought?
Yeah, the all that is fantastic. So you guys have an app as well. I didn't know about that. I was using the website for the longest time. You guys have an app as well. Is there something that you can scan, like data tags? I think that's what I had heard. Is that already working, or how does it work?
Yeah, great question. So it's called SnapScan. And today we're using that in a way that is scanning the label of any piece of equipment in the field. And it's going to bring you back that same experience like we looked at online, where you get the full bill of material, you get the manuals, diagrams, exploded drawings, if they're available from the manufacturer. And you've got all that at your fingertips in the field. So no need to, lug around a laptop or have somebody in the office constantly pinging the website. You've got that access in the field as well. Works on a tablet, works on a mobile phone. Go to your favorite app store and download it tomorrow. I think there's, close to 500,000 downloads already today, but pretty big deal. Gives you the driver's seat in your pocket to access all that information mobily.
That's super helpful, because you go up there and you're trying to, because I actually did it for the one that I pulled up right now. Like, you're trying to type in letter for letter, and then sometimes like you don't need the whole model number. It's only a certain set of letters and numbers, and then it gets a little confusing. And then you're like, oh, I missed, or I didn't need that extra number, because like that Randell that I just pulled up, on the data tag, it has like an extra number at the end for some, extra letter on the end. But I realized that all that does is tell you what side the compressor's on. It's either L or R. And when I was typing it in, I was like, it's not pulling up. And then I took off the R, and I'm like, now it pulled up. So if you kind of eliminate that struggle there of like, because it happens with a lot of them, carriers like that too. You don't need all the extra zeros at the end, trained to. And that those model numbers end up being like 20 letters long sometimes. So like, if you can just go and scan it and have the app just pull it up for you, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's particularly helpful when you get into some of the heavier applied side of HVAC, where the model number isn't really the call tag. It's the serial number and everything that went into the design of that specific piece of equipment.
Oh, yeah.
So the manufacturers that we partnered with on that today, you can pull back down to the serial level what's in that machine. That's a pretty big deal. And that's access that most people haven't had in, the last 3 decades of HVAC. So cool to have it, especially in a way that you don't have to worry about fat fingering,
Yeah.
typing in something. It'll bring it back visually.
Yeah, it saves a lot. Something, because I had just mentioned it in one of my recent videos, like something we've done is like when we find a part that we need and, our customer has like 20 stores with that equipment or something, we try to truck stock on that, right? We try to order a couple more. If it's something common that fails, like a motor or whatever it is. And like I said, the screw grommets, I'm gonna have to get those because we need a bunch of them. Like that stuff you kind of stock up on. So for me, the whole shift to just ordering everything is becoming like not only for parts that I need or specialty parts, it's also for stock myself, because if I can stock this stuff, I think that's an important thing, and it kind of helps you stand out as a technician, business owner, whatever it is, if you have these things on your van. Because if you can fix it on the spot, you're the hero. They love you. They'll continue to call you, and that's a good impression, especially with like new customers, because I've had some that they have this, odd end equipment, and they're like, hey, check it out, and I found out what's wrong with it. I'm like, yeah, I got one of those on the truck. Don't worry about it. Pop it in, we're done. Versus like the company they complain about that's like always on the phone, always going back and forth. It takes forever to get something working. So I mean, you can use something like PartsTown to your advantage to stock up on these parts that you would need. We see a lot of right now specialty like ECM motors that are particular to certain brand of equipment. And hey, you might want to buy an extra one, to have on the truck.
Yeah, I think stocking parts on your truck, always the ability to be the hero. If you can fix it the same day, like you're saying, that's the goal. On the food service side, you were showing the website a few minutes ago, and there is a ribbon called Parts Predictor. This doesn't exist on the HVAC side yet, but this is a good secret weapon on the food side. Parts Predictor has the ability to drop in a model or serial number and pull back what's most likely wrong based on a lot of data and service tickets and things like that have been kind of thrown into the machine. So before you even roll the truck, if you got that information from the restaurant or from the end user, you could potentially have the parts ordered and in hand before you get there. Timing's everything, but the idea that you could save a day or two of delay by getting things in advance, that's a different approach altogether.
That brings up a good point, because I've tried to, like I said in the past, because this is a span of over 20 years, I've tried to be the predictive tech as well. Like I get that from my dad, because he's like, well, this is a pretty common failure, or, what else do we need to order? Because, hey, we just picked up a customer who has 20 stores and we want to try to predictively build stock, right? Like what parts should we get? So we've done that in the past. So you guys have that built into the app there? Like it's going to predict, or not predict, but like it's going to tell you what's maybe most common that parts you would need for that then?
Yeah, on that food service side, if you put in the model serial, if you start to kind of go through the survey that it's going to prompt you with, it'll narrow it down to parts related to that common failure. So it's going to take you in a direction based off of how you answer the series of questions, but should get you to a point that, within
That's
reason,
cool.
you've got understanding of what the parts need to be. Yeah. Looking forward to that being the case on the HVAC side at some point too.
Okay.
It's a lot of history and a lot of data that feeds that. But as we're talking about, diminishing labor force and things like that, green technicians coming up in the trade, those kind of tools become pretty advantageous for how we accomplish a growing industry with less resources.
And I'm not against it. I know some people get riled up for this kind of this stuff, right? Like, oh, the skill this, skill that, new guys, green guys. I'm all for it. Back when I had started, you couldn't find anything online, right? There was not anything online. It was just whatever was local.
It was a local supply house and a 38,000 SKU catalog that, looked like a giant brick. Yeah, I remember those days.
The shuffling through the catalog, or What I used to do was I would always save the manuals, and then I had a big crate in my van just stacked of common manuals that I would need, right? So I can go back and look
Yep.
up parts or like the troubleshooting guide or whatever it was. There was other ways to do it. Once the internet came around, right? And you could kind of find something on your phone or a laptop or something like that. And stuff was starting to be built like from manufacturers, like they would have their website and you could find a couple of manuals on there. I mean, it would take forever to load that page. That was a whole other thing, right? But it started becoming a thing, and I'm all for it because that was my secret weapon. Was like and it was always my dad. He's like, if I don't know, the answer right now, I'm gonna find it for you. Like I'm gonna go look it up. I'm gonna go find the part. I'm gonna go figure out the issue, and I'll get you an answer. That was always his thing. So like I took that to, I'm gonna find it online. I'm gonna find the answer. I'm gonna find the part. And I think that's a good point because I have now new techs, right? Like they're super green. One is from nursing, but he's doing very well right now because he is leaning on, and I didn't know this till recently, he's leaning on Chat GPT, which I just have to kind of curve that uh what it spits out in him, kind of tell him like, okay, then maybe don't trust this, but look at this, and kind of guide him through it because it spits a lot of information at you. So he's been using, AI tools. He's been using a lot of online resources, tech support, leaning on whatever you can because there's so many resources now, right? And that's why I had tried to look into other companies that were doing these things where it was like a AI tech support or where it was finding, parts online. Like I've always tried to look at what works best, right? Because that's something you want to have as a tool. And if my guys are using that, I mean, I'm fine with it because they're knocking out calls. They're able to find answers. They're able to do what they need to do. And that is the most important part, right? They'll learn as they go through experience, but give them the information so that they can succeed.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're going to have more and more of these tools pop up, right? And if you got super curious people that want to fix stuff, I think that's a great recipe. It doesn't matter if they came from the trade, if they came from nursing, but they're super curious and they're going to find the answer and fix the problem. That's a good person to have on the team, right? I think the reality is to your point, ChatGPT is going to spit out something that's sometimes right, sometimes misguided. How do you make sure that they ask another question on top of it to get it back to where it needs to be? More and more of these tools are going to pop up over the next 5 to 10 years. I think so many have popped up in the last year that it's interesting to watch. It becomes the same thing we were referencing before. It's how do you organize the data to make it useful?
Man, it's changed a lot over the past just even few years as far as like even the equipment you see, the kind of parts you need to get, the kind of information and knowledge you need to have, the stuff you need to learn. It's always changing, and it's changed a lot in recent years, right? With the A2Ls on my side, all the electronics that come over now, which like I don't do the hot food side, but I've been amazed at like all these fryers and ovens with all these like little computers and everything built into them. And it's like we have one right now that we're dissecting, and it's like there's a lot of tech in here, right? So you need as many resources as you need to kind of figure that stuff out because you're not gonna learn it overnight, or you're not gonna know what you're looking at the first time you're looking at it, right? So always look for resources and try to help yourself out. So I'm glad Partstown is kind of going in that direction of, leaning into the new technology or, what works for new guys. And for me, I think that's a big help because, I've interviewed a lot of younger technicians on here, and I started asking them like what helps you learn? What helps you this? It's Chat GPT, it's YouTube, it's, a lot of these online resources now. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's totally different from how I learned, but what works for you is what's best, right?
You make a good point. The way they learn is different than 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We used to sit down and open a book and go from page 1 to the end of the book. And it had to be very comprehensive, right? But today it's modular learning, right? I see one thing, I need to find out how to fix that in 5 minutes. I'm going to go to a video. I'm going to go to a resource that can get me that specific fix. That's a different way to approach an HVAC system or a cooler or anything that needs a good set of eyes on it. Much different than it used to be.
It's just more information. When you break it down, that's what we all need, right? And it's always difficult for me because I'm and it goes for everybody. Like so many other companies or so many other technicians, you have so many competitors, right? And customers call everybody, anybody and everybody, right? And you get second opinions, you get third, fourth, fifth opinions sometimes. You don't always know the history on those units. You don't know what's been done to it, this and that. So like just having information, because even like you mentioned with that predictive part list, right? Can't wait to see it roll out to, all sides. But that's something that I call manufacturer for too, like for tech support. Cause sometimes, and I tell guys all the time, like you can call tech support just to get information. They might not, be able to help you because you have or you might not need help on something technical. You might just need information. So like I mentioned earlier, I just need a part number sometimes and I would call them. Other times it's just good to call them and tell them what's going on because I had one or a few of them, but recently they were telling me, well, yeah, that part we don't use that part anymore. We replaced it since with this other digital controller, right? We want you to replace it because it was under warranty. They were like, we want you to replace it with this other one because we went away from that one. We had issues with it. I'm like, oh, I would have known. I would have ordered the same one again or whatever it was and then had an issue again. So sometimes it's good to call just to get information, or Parts Town with the predictive part common issues, that helps too, because that's information that can help you or can guide you. Where do you guys get those issues from? Like, how do you know what issues or where do you get that data from on that predictive side?
Yeah, great question. So it comes from a lot of different sources. The strength of our OEM partnerships, manufacturer partnerships, that's a big source. There's also been, from a legacy standpoint at Parts Town, a good connection to the service field to aggregate service tickets and information that way, and a way to build the machine. Don't really have the same access today on the HVAC side. It's kind of why the gap there on Parts Predictor, but it's how you go and either one, partner with somebody to help build the machine, or two, go out and potentially purchase the information. There's lots of good groups out there that have provided tech support, that have provided service tickets in the field, that you can start to piece that together to create something that's never been created for. Yeah, it's the fun of the time we're in. AI is going to help solve a lot of problems. It's going to put forth information that wasn't there before. So exciting times to watch for sure.
As long as you use it wisely. I mean, I'll admit, I didn't really like AI when it first came out and didn't see, or you saw a lot of issues with it, but I mean, it learns quick and you can definitely use it. I've seen some other kinds of apps where it's like tech support or anything like that. And there are some that were bad that shouldn't be used. And then there's some that are good that I can see value in it. Right. So that's a whole other thing. You just, like I said earlier, you need information and, just wherever you can find that information and it works for you, that's what you need to do. And I was excited to have you on here just to talk about parts in general and stuff like that, because, that is a big part of any industry on the repair side, right? Like, do you have this part? How quickly can you get it? Can you even find the part? So definitely a big help there from Parts Town. And I appreciate you for taking the time today. Do you have anything maybe that we can end on, as far as, I know we covered a lot. So, I mean, there's a lot of good information in this episode to begin with, but for techs out there that are, maybe they didn't know about Parts Town, maybe they're looking for some tips here and there, you can kind of end on that before we get off.
Yeah, I'll do it this way. So you had mentioned along the way that you kind of want to be the hero for your customer in the field. We want to see more heroes pop up. We put together information and findability with our Parts ID tools that start that process. So come to us for Parts ID. Come to us for all the OEM parts for all the brands in one place. We got more parts in stock at our facilities than any other organization on this planet. So that's a big deal to us. Come to us for availability, right? And then come to us for that predictable outcome. Like, if we can ship it to you today up till 9 p.m. Eastern, then let's take advantage of that moment so that you can go back and take care of your customer and keep that equipment up and running. So it's those three things. And this is, for sure, a shameless plug for Parts Town. But those are the things that we want to bring to the field and create more heroes. So appreciate the time, Adrian.
Yeah. And like I said, for the longest time, we've used Parts Town. It's just been in our back pocket, for most of my career. How long has Parts Town been around, actually?
Great question. So if you want to put a direct timestamp on it, you got to look at all the organizations that Parts Town has acquired over the past probably 14. Let's just call it 15 years, because in its genesis, the Parts Town organization, coming up on that food service side, created some cool e-commerce tools and then went out and partnered with others to bring more into the town from a townspeople standpoint. Let's call it the last 15 years, but there's some organizations that have joined suit that are much, much older.
Okay. That sounds about right. Like I said, I've been doing this 19, 20 years, and I know for sure the past like 10 years I've been using it or some form of it. And like I said, it's in our back pocket. It's there when we need it, and it's growing rapidly. You guys are doing a lot now. And that's cool. Is there any, as far as Partstone itself, because my dad does all that, all those accounts and ordering parts, he handles that for now. Is there anything that you guys do for, or any perks with signing up with Partstown? Do you guys offer anything, or is it the same as like you just visiting as a guest?
Yeah. So if you're a professional in the trade, we want to connect with you and our salespeople. So our CX team that's answering the phones, or our territory sales managers or directors in the field, there is going to be some advantages from a cost or service level that you get to be a professional in the trade, as well as you're likely going to get some really cool swag along the way. We're going to send you lots of cool little robots, because we have lots of robots in our facilities, so we promote that. Plus a lot of cool branded gear on top of, you're going to get a relationship that you likely wouldn't get if you were just hitting the web. We're going to send you some handwritten notes, probably going to celebrate your birthday. We're going to call and, send you DoorDash when days are tough. It's a high level of customer experience if you're a professional in the trades. Yeah. Reach out to us and request to have that service, versus just hitting the web and being a guest on the website.
As far as like, because you guys have a number too, do you guys offer any, what kind of support do you offer? Is it just on finding the part? Is there any tech support? Is there anything else that they can call you for?
Yeah, great question. So call us for, one, having a good day, but two, yes, we've got levels of tech support. We have connections with manufacturers that we can push you through and prioritize things. We have Parts ID, order troubleshooting. There's a whole army of people sitting in the facilities I listed off for, and some others that are there to literally answer the phone in three rings or less. You're not going to sit on hold. You're not going to waste a lot of time. We understand that time is money as well, and you're going to get a level of support there to troubleshoot whatever's in front of you to the best of our ability.
So, and currently, do you have like all the major manufacturers for the HVAC, or is there only certain ones that you guys have?
Yeah, great question. Highly encourage anybody to go to partsound.com and hit the HVAC button, and you'll see all the brands pop up. But roughly about 110 brands today. You'll see all the major players: Daikin, Goodman, Carrier, Rheem, York. The list goes on.
Okay.
But and then some. So you're going to see some boutique or specialty products or specialty commercial products like Aeon, things like that pop up that you might not be working on every day in HVAC. Now you've got a source where you don't have to have 100 relationships, 100 different distributors, or, 100 different not favorite counter guys, right? So the challenge is, check us out and see what we can do to create a option that you can build math around in your business. You've got to figure out process. We want to put that for you.
Yeah, I just pulled it up actually. All the major brands. You guys also do like, I see new Calgon in here. So you guys sell like some chemicals and stuff like that too?
Yeah, not to a grand degree.
Okay.
A lot of the consumables, it's not really our forte. We still want that supply house to sell your refrigerant and cleaners and things like that. We've got a mild array of things you might put on your truck, but really what we want to be known for is the repair part. Call us for anything that's in the machine.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to dive into this because I actually had a less than stellar experience with Rheem on finding a coil. So I'm gonna have to, and I prefer to do my own research. So that's what Partstown provides me, is not relying on a counter guy or maybe everywhere else. They said they have good experiences with it, but I'm like, it's just, I know it's my location on the Rheem and Root stuff. And it's a certain distributor, but it's the closest one that I have. And I was like, man, I'm getting the runaround for a coil, and I just don't know how to find it. So that was a while back, and now that you guys offer HVAC, that's something that I can have at my disposal. So that was always my thing with anything, is I don't like relying on somebody else. I was like, if I can find the information, even better. And then I can go and like, I can still order through them or whoever it is, or Parts Town themselves, but at least I have the right information in front of me.
Yeah, there's things you can't stock on the truck, right? Coils. I would challenge it. Any control board in HVAC, we likely have it. We actually challenged our supply chain team to stock every single control board for every model that we could have access to from OEMs. And they took on that challenge about a year ago. So things like that you may hit or miss at the supply house locally.
Yeah.
You can definitely rely on Parts Town.
And okay, so I know I'm asking you a lot of questions at the end. For these parts in particular, right? Like you said, control boards, coils, are you relying on what they have in stock? Do you have any of those any of the facilities that you have where you ship out? Is any of that stuff your stock, or is it, do you rely on whatever like the distributors have for those brands themselves?
Yeah, great question. So we stock all that. So our partnership with the manufacturer is to stock deep and wide. And the things that you typically won't find locally, we often have, and we're shipping it from our facilities. Our main objective is to ship parts and stock parts in a way that nobody else stocks them. So you can come to us and rely on the fact that we're going to have it and get it to you in a predictable fashion.
So if it shows like Parts Town in stock, you guys have it in hand, right? You're not the middleman for anything.
Yep. You can see there are listings on our site where it's shipped by a third party.
Okay.
That's transparently, that's not us. That's just a partnership with somebody locally. It'll say in stock shipping
but
from
it'll
Parts
tell
Town.
you.
Yep. As you're checking out, or as you even look at the listing, it'll tell you where it's coming from.
Okay, that's great. Good to know, because like I said, they admitted to me that they're not going to pull a coil off if they need it for a new system. They're like, we would much rather sell a new system than give you the coil off the line. So it was a whole thing. I was like, but I mean, if I could find it somewhere else, I would. That was the only place that I could go to. But that's good to know, and the transparency there, because I wasn't sure if you guys had any of that, or if you had to, like, if I place an order with Parts Town, then you place an order with the supply house or whatever it is, manufacturer. But I like the transparency, and it reminds me of like Walmart when you order online, or Amazon, and it's like, oh, it's not coming from Walmart, but you have to pay attention to the fine print. It's like shipped by third party, so and so, this and that. So my whole thing is, as long as it's like labeled there, like either you have it or it's going to be shipped by a third party, as long as I know that, then I know, okay, what to expect, basically.
Yeah, and often you won't even see third parties if we have it. So if you're coming across a parts listing on our site and we have it in stock, it'll be clearly understood that it's coming from a Parts Town facility. And quite often, if you log into your account as a professional in the trade, you can see potentially what facility it's coming from.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, that's cool. Again, thanks for taking the time. I know we kind of went off a little bit there at the end, but a lot of great information. Really enjoyed the episode, and I hope it helps the listeners, the viewers, because it's something that we've used for a long time, continue to use, and I need to get on board with the app and the data scan and all that kind of stuff. I haven't dove into that yet.
Awesome, Adrian. Well, thanks for having me. Definitely enjoyed the time.
All right. Everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next one.